to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. My friend Ashley Uhl is back on the show with me today. Ashley is the only client experience consultant exclusively focused on working with interior designers and decorators. Ashley originally appeared on the show, episode number 412, and she impressed me immediately. And when I say immediately, I actually mean immediately. Ashley shows designers how to confidently lead clients through the design process by teaching them a repeatable, systematic approach to delivering an exceptional client experience, one that results in higher fees, increased efficiency, and clients absolutely adoring you. This is not fluff. This is essential to attracting, working with, and maintaining relationships with your ideal client. Ashley's knowledge and expertise in client experience comes from her degree in psychology, from years of working with high net worth individuals at Morgan Stanley, her formal training and work in human relations, sales, and presentations at top development company Dale Carnegie, and from years of gleaning knowledge from five-star establishments that she has visited during her international travel. Her knowledge of interior design and the process around it, well, that comes from her short stint as an interior designer, which then became a pivot to teaching designers about the client experience. Today, Ashley joins me to talk about how to talk to your clients like a leader, not a boss. The show today is sponsored by Article. Article also takes pride in the client experience, and you are their client. Have you opened your trade account today so that you can experience for yourself all the ways Article is there to support you through your design process? That's right, the selection, ordering, tracking, and delivery process. I need for you to see it and understand it for yourself. Go sign up for your trade account today at welldesigned.article.com. Article is your go-to for mid-century furniture, easy ordering and delivery, often within a few days, not months, days. Go to welldesigned.article.com and see for yourself. Okay, let's get to the conversation with Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Thanks so much for coming back to A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you so much for having me, LuAnn. I am so excited to be here.
Me too. Ashley, you are one of those smart ladies, I have to tell you, that I just love and adore because I'll tell you two reasons why I love what you do. Number one is because from the first time I met you and we talked and I went through your website, I could see what great information you put together for interior designers, and I could see, I'm going to call it your point of view on it, is so clear and so strong and so direct, and I feel so on the mark. So that's the first reason why I love you. And the second reason why I love you is because I have had so many designers tell me that they've worked with you and it has changed their whole relationships with their clients for the good. So that's like a 1-2 punch there.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear, and I'm so glad.
Yeah, no, you're the real deal, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today, because this conversation, how to talk to your clients like a leader and not a boss, is number one, an important conversation, an important thing for all business owners to understand, but also because I know we're going to get into the nuance of words and languages, and that is my happy place when we debate the way we say something. I say to my sales staff all the time at WindowWorks, okay, yes, both sentences say the same thing, but which sentence is going to move our client to action, or which sentence is going to make our client feel heard, or which sentence is going to make this vendor understand, hey, same team, right?
Right.
So get us started on this, how to talk to our clients like a leader rather than a boss. Where does it begin when you start to teach this to the clients that you work with?
Yeah. So how I even kind of started to notice this is when a lot of designers were talking about, the things that they weren't going to do when they're talking at the very beginning, especially, they're in those initial conversations, the screening call, the initial consultation, and they're saying like, we don't do this, we don't do that, please don't text us, all of these things, laying all these sorts of expectations. And so it was realizing this is happening a lot, and understandably so, right? You don't want your clients to run over you, and you do need to say what you are expecting people to do for you, how they're going to treat you, but you want to do it, like you said, in a very specific way and in a very client-friendly way. So many people have this idea of designers. I think a lot of people are very intimidated by designers and scared of them. And so when you're starting out, especially these initial conversations with people, you really, really have to be very careful about how you're speaking to them and not focusing on what you're not going to do, but what are you willing to do? What do your services include? You're wanting to talk in the positive rather than the negative, because it can come off as so harsh and abrasive and unfriendly that people start to think, oh, maybe this isn't the right situation for me, even if that's not what you're trying to do, right? And that's not even who you are, but that's how it's being perceived, and then you're getting yourself into a situation. You know what I mean?
I do, and I would say to you, I think it comes, what I'm going to say is I'm going to give a little slack, right, and a little grace to the newer business owner that hears us say all the time, like Sandra Funk says, stand in your space, right? Stand up for yourself. And we have Claire Jefford, who has talked multiple times and also in the book on managing client expectations, right? So we have this one side, we have this rhetoric going out, and it's not rhetoric, it's information, and it's good, solid information of you lead it's your train, you run it, you lead it. But the thing is that if we it's like an overreaction, right? That's what you're saying. It's like you can still be the one that says what the rules are, but there's a nuance into how to say it so that it feels like your client can say, oh, I'm being cared for. This business person is running the show, not I'm being slammed down the throat on what's going to happen, right?
Right. Absolutely. And it is truly amazing how just changing things around a little bit it's the difference between what you just said, right? Like, oh, wow, this sounds great. Or, oh my gosh, maybe I should be second guessing this choice to work with them, and it is kind of these small little things where, so I years ago went to, my husband and I love to go to Korean barbecue places, and we had always gone to this like hole in the wall, and we loved it, but then it was kind of far away, and we thought, okay, now there's a new one, it's close to us, let's go there. We sit down and they give us a menu of, you can order from these meats, and literally it was a list of like 10 don't rules. I was like, okay, this is very unfriendly. Like, oh, hi, how are you? Please, sit down or whatever. Okay. And then it's like all of these rules of all these things that we're not allowed to do. And then it became like this weird sort of thing where we kept asking, is this okay? Is that okay? Like, are we allowed to do
what
this?
Are you not allowed to do in a Korean barbecue? Like, my brain is like, what do we, like, don't stand on the chairs and sing Liberace? Like, what?
So it was like, don't order this more than one time. Don't order this more than one time. But it was like different categories. So like you can order these appetizers more than once, but don't order this appetizer more than once. Don't order this meat more than once. Don't order this meat if you haven't bought this package. Don't sit here for longer than 2 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, right? And my husband and I are very like tactful people, and we're always trying to like, okay, we're not trying to do anything, so that's why we kept asking, like, is this okay? Is that okay? And it was just so weird and unfriendly, but then the waiter was very friendly, so it just, it was such a weird juxtaposition. And again, it's like you said, like, we understand where it comes from. Like, you're trying to not have somebody come in and eat every meat under the sun for 5 hours. Right? So that you're like, oh my gosh, basically they just ate $300 worth of meat, but they paid us $25, right? And so it's coming from an understandable place, but it's all in how you phrase it. And I left saying, I don't know if I want to go back. It was weird. We had to ask so many questions, and it just left this weird taste in my mouth, and so it was just, then it became this conversation of, well, how do you switch that? Right. And it's like, how can you say that you can do things? And this package, it includes this, and this. And the same thing with the designer, right? Like when we work together, you can contact us by phone, and here's our phone number, or by email, here's our office hours, right? You're not saying, don't contact me on the weekends. It's our office hours are this. Right. It's not, don't text me. It's, you can reach me by phone call or by email, right? So it's all in how you're phrasing things so that you're not coming off as so aggressive. And the client's actually saying, oh, this is good information for me to know, rather than, man, there's a lot of rules. I hope I don't like misstep and then get in trouble.
Well, it's so funny because I'm thinking I would have been like, how about this? Don't ever come in again. I'm leaving. Bye. Whatever.
Right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So the thing is that when just to be in the weeds, when you say, you suggest to a designer that they say, you can reach me by phone call and email during these hours. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. When you're working with somebody in real life and they say to you, right, I've got that in my thing, and they ignore it, and I still get a text at 7:00. Just right now in the weeds for a second, how do you suggest that they handle that?
Yes. Yeah. So first of all, if they've texted you and it's after hours, don't respond. Mm-hmm. Don't respond at that time. Right. So you wait until office hours are open again, and then you call them. Right. So once you start that texting back, even if it's to say, please don't text me. Oh, well, now you've actually gone down the road that you said you're not going to. Right. So you don't want to even get into that. You just want to call them the next morning and then say, oh, thank you so much for your text. I saw that you wanted this, and whatever they are telling you, you repeat it, and then say, okay, here's what we're going to do about it or whatever. And then just say, in the future, I always work by phone call or email because it's very hard to keep track of text. And then you just leave it at that, right? So you've let the client know, again, I always work by phone call or email, and then you've moved on. You don't have to focus on it. You don't want to make the client feel bad. They may have missed it at the beginning, but you are just kind of redirecting them very gently and very nicely. I also wouldn't, when you're putting this information in your welcome packet on your website, definitely don't tell people that it's your cell phone number, right? Even if it is, you can just say my office phone number is, and then you're just using your cell phone as your office number, because no one is looking at like the website for Target and thinking, oh, I'm going to try to text Target, right? You're not going to try to text Target. That doesn't make sense. So that's why you want to say like, it's my office phone number. And then you're just using it as a phone number rather than text, because yes, texting is, oh gosh, I really recommend not ever going down that road, because it's something that's very difficult. And once you engage in that way, even if it is to say, don't text me, then you've already opened the floodgates, and it's just going to keep going.
I love that. So that's what I love is that to your point, we're going to redirect the client, but we're not going to call them out in an embarrassing way. We're just, we wait until the morning. We don't in the morning text the answer. We call if we don't want to be doing text. We call, and then we just nicely say, and in the future, I would love it if you would, either call me or email me when you have a question, because that's how I can keep track of the conversations and the changes that occur within your project, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's good. Okay. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about these types of things where we know from our, back end business perspective, the way we want things done. But your point is that there is a way to express them that gets agreement and that feels nice as opposed to feeling adversarial.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you of course want to have a good relationship with your client, and you're working very hard at that, and you don't want the words to be what gets in the way, even if that wasn't your intention, right? Mm-hmm. It's sometimes if you don't say things in a certain way, it can really be taken the wrong way. So yes, you're always wanting to be thinking of, how can I frame this in a nice way and frame this in a way that is benefiting them, because I'm going to get so much more compliance that way and agreement, so that they are understanding, oh, wow, okay, I will only call them or email them because I definitely don't want her to be losing track of anything, right? So, okay, I get it now. I'm definitely going to be doing that. So there's so many reasons to be making sure that you do this, because it is going to benefit you and the client, the relationship, the project, everything. So yeah, it's very, very important to focus on exactly what you're saying.
And, just to go back to the Korean barbecue example for a second, as hysterical as it is, the thing is, what occurs to me is that in the original restaurant that you patronized and were happy and went to many times, probably of the 15 things that this other restaurant told you not to do, you probably didn't do them and had no desire to do them, right?
Exactly.
It just was like the way it's so to call out something, don't at the beginning, to your point, that's the beginning of your relationship with the restaurant. You sit down, you get a menu, and it's a list of don'ts. And for an interior designer, the discovery call and or the, letter of agreement meeting, that's the beginning of a relationship.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
You want to be setting that tone to be friendly, to be open, to be kind of laying that foundation. And you don't want the foundation to be don't. Yeah. I don't do this. I don't do that. Even though like you said, there are going to have to be rules, and you set all of these rules, but it has to be done in a way that the client is happy and excited to basically follow your rules, but they see it as, oh, wonderful, a framework is around me, and now I'm excited about this framework, and I understand. It's also a matter of kind of being confused, like, we were asking over and over again, okay, is this allowed? Is that allowed? Right? And it's a very inefficient way of communicating. So you want to let people know what is included, what you will do, rather than all of the don'ts, because now you're left questioning, okay, well then what's left then? I don't know where we go from here.
Right, because if the opening page of that menu was, let us make some suggestions for you, and then it was like little packages of meals, you would have been like, this is awesome. Let's take one of 2 and one of 4. You know what I mean? Like, we're done. Great.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's so, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So, yeah. And one of the things that I always encourage designers to flip is this deadline. I know it's a constant thing of like, we don't work on deadlines, like the holidays aren't a deadline, a party isn't a deadline. Yes, I'm totally on board with that, right? You can't control when all of these things are going to be coming in. So many things can set things back, and you shouldn't have them as a deadline. However, you don't want to be stating it in that way. It's, again, just a gentle conversation, and you can have this also in your welcome packet, all of these things you can just say, we are so excited for you to have this party, or to have a party to show off all that we've done for you. We're so excited for that. Unfortunately, we aren't able to finish projects around deadlines such as the holidays and the parties, but we'll be the first one to send you, that bottle of champagne for the party that you're going to be having when it is finished, right? So it's like you're saying we're excited, right? Because the person is doing this from a reason of excitement. They want to show off what they've done, but you don't want to give them a hard time about why they're going to be doing this, right? You want to say, I'm excited for you, but unfortunately we can't work around deadlines such as holidays and parties.
Okay. And how do you, because I've had this with window work, so yeah. I know that I've had to have this conversation, and I've had to have it in a way that leaves us in a good light and that they feel good about it, and that they will still place their order with us, even though I'm not going to sit there and promise that they're going to have it, right? But so the question is when the person, so I know what I'm saying is, what I know this next sentence is, right, but I really have to have it by the day my daughter gets married. So you're going to have it, right? So when the client pushes back in that moment, yeah, where's the language there? I know we have to just keep rephrasing and restating, but do you recommend that there's a point of, now this will be different for the designer that does the reveal install as to the designer who might say, look, I really feel like I can get your window treatments and your carpets in, but the furniture's not coming. Are there weeds in there?
Sure. Yeah. So when they're really pushing back and just saying, yeah, but you're really going to have it, you can just, you just want to be honest and just say, unfortunately, I really don't want to have you believing that this is going to be happening. We will work hard to get things on a schedule, but there are so many things that are out of our control. And so I don't want you to be relying on this thing that could end up hurting your event or something like that, right? So again, you're telling them why this is in their benefit to not rely on this. You can't promise it. It's out of your control. It's not something like, oh, I'm just being lazy.
Right.
Right? These are things that are out of my control, and I would love for you to have them, but I don't want you to rely on this. And if something should happen, now your event is ruined, right? So that's the kind of thing that you're always thinking of, how can I frame this so that it benefits them to not do this or this, right? Because then people start listening. Oh, yeah, I definitely don't want my event to be ruined, so I'm going to have to figure out something else.
Right. I love that. It's true. And I love that line. I don't want you to rely on this. You can say, I will do my best. I will have it in mind. I want this party, this event to be amazing, but I don't want you to rely on this.
Right.
That's awesome. Because we all know, we've all been there where some important milestone comes, and whether the entire project can't be delivered or just a component, the emotions are already high based on coming into the event. And then all of a sudden, the most important thing in the world is the cornice on the third floor bedroom that no one at that entire dinner party is going to see. But we have to have it. And you're just like, okay, the guest bedroom on the third floor is really important for the bridal shower luncheon. Loving this. But they're just upset, and there's something they want to be able to control at that point, and to be able to, because maybe literally the caterer canceled the day before. And so that's really horrible. And so you're getting the trickle-down effect of, what's happening, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And what you can do, especially if this is a really close relationship and you know that they're upset and you are trying to figure it out, then sometimes coming up with a temporary solution, if they're if you have something in stock and it's you use these things to style and you can bring something in, or if you can rearrange their furniture in their own house to fill in an empty spot, or let's say there was supposed to be some sort of artwork that wasn't delivered. Is there something that you have on hand? Could you run to Home Goods, something, or put a very big bouquet? If you really want to go all out, then that's absolutely something that you can do, but you want to be not promising, these things at the beginning, but doing it in a way where you're saying I don't want to ruin your event. You can't rely on this.
And that's a perfect little example there of the nuance of what you're teaching us today is, on one hand, we are the leader of our company and we set out the expectations and the way it will go. But that doesn't mean that we don't go 110% for our clients. So we stand there firmly and we explain, in a positive way that I'm not going to be held to a deadline, but if gosh darn it, if the one thing that's missing is that piece of art and I've got a piece of art over my fireplace that will fit, I will bring that over here for you.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly.
That's the thing. It's like we don't just say, hey, I told you it wasn't promised, and then walk away. And that's the thing. I agree with you, Ashley. I think that it's so smart of you to notice this need in customer service is really what it is. It's to notice this need in our understanding of that just because you have bent over backwards for somebody doesn't mean that when you're bent over backwards, they're walking over you. There's a difference when you do it by choice and you do it by, but because it's a nice thing to do and it's a good thing to do. And there is being walked on, but there is being just giving the extra, right?
Right. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. I was just doing a coaching call the other day where I was saying, like, you aren't a butler, right? You are a leader. And so you have to find that balance because, you don't want to be seen as like, oh, look at me, I'm just running around for you, right? That's not what, that doesn't benefit anybody, right? You do need to be a leader and like you're setting the tone every step of the way. You're setting the agendas, the process, the pricing, all of that is set by you. But part of that is also being a servant leader where you're choosing to go that extra mile. Like you said, okay, I'm not going to just say, sorry, now you're kind of out of luck and this has happened. Now you're going to have this empty space or whatever. You're going to start being a leader again and saying, what can I do to resolve this problem for right now? So to me, that is, you're always being a leader by thinking, how am I going to solve this next problem? You're not a butler just taking orders, right? You're a leader who's actively thinking through problems that your client's going to come up against, and then you're trying to solve those problems for them to the best of your ability.
Right. I love it. And, for me, one of the things that I've always done and always taught my salespeople to do is when we do go the extra mile for somebody, we know why we're doing it and we make sure they know why we're doing it. Right. And so, and of course, even there's a conversation. We don't say, I'm so amazing and you have to notice this about me and I'm doing this for you, blah, blah, blah. You have to frame it and you have to express it and you have to say, I've been really giving this some thought and I understand this, that, and the other thing. And I have decided to, take the artwork over my fireplace and put it here if you'd love to have it. You know what I mean? I want you to whatever. It can't just be like a chicken without a head. I love what you just said is you choose to be a servant leader. That's a great little line there, servant leader. You're thinking of a solution, you're presenting the solution, but it's not because your back is against the wall and you're just, oh my God, you want something else, I have to keep giving. It's like, I'm making a choice here to add this extra value to our transaction.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Like you said, you're making that choice because you see yourself as, you're the leader of your firm. Even if you're just a one-woman show or one-man show, you are taking things very seriously and you're stepping into that leadership role and saying, how am I going to actively always be fixing problems rather than, just running around when my client tells me to. And that doesn't help anyone. And so, when you're framing things in a certain way and saying, I've decided, I would love to bring my artwork to you or give you a bouquet we can put in this empty spot. All of those things are showing you continually as I'm the leader, I'm making these choices, and I would love to do this for you rather than I take orders when you tell me.
Right. And again, it's so crazy because that is the nuance in there. One is, a client is upset and railing and emotional and you're like, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could this, I guess I could that. The other is I've been giving this some careful thought and I have a solution for us. How about I do this? Right. And both are the same. Maybe internally you have reacted like, oh my goodness, we're missing a big thing for that mantle. That vase is not going to come. What am I going to do? It's okay. So that's what, for the newer business owner listening, it's not that we're saying you need to immediately know how to process and not be afraid. We're not saying you need to automatically be born and understand the difference. You can experience the fear and the uncertainty and the and the anxiety of having an unhappy client on your hand, but take it back, process it, and when you've come up with the solution, it's to deliver it in a way that puts you back in the leader seat, is what you're saying, right, Ash?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. You want to feel proud of yourself that like you are the leader. You've taken that time, and it's absolutely okay to say, let me think about this for a little while. I will get back to you, and let them know when you're going to get back. And then you take that time, like you said, to experience fear. You're not going to come up with a good solution anyways when you're freaking out, right? That's when you're at your absolute least creative, when you're afraid. And so you need some time to stop and think, and you've already told them, I'm going to get back to you at this time. And then you start coming up with solutions, and then you bring it back to them. And that's when people will say, wow, they really are a leader, and they're going to see you as that because you have given yourself that space and that opportunity to create solutions to fix all of their problems that you can. Because if you are just saying in the moment, I'll do this, that's not being a leader. You know, leaders take time. They're not just coming up with things and knowing what's right automatically. It does take time and thought. And I think clients actually are much more appreciative when you do take time to think, and you can let them know, I want to come up with the best solution possible for this. So I'm going to take 24 hours to think about it and come up with everything that I can, and I'll get back to you at this time.
Plus, when you take that approach, they're much more likely to understand that whatever your suggestion as the substitute or the thing is something that they can trust as a viable option, because it's not, well, I could throw a vase there. I could throw a plant there. I could throw this there. I could, put my kid's Tonka toy there. It's like, I thought about this. And then even though you might say, obviously the vase is ideal, but a bouquet of flowers will work. This is why. This is the type of flowers. Like, just give the explanation from your expertise why you're making the choice you're making. And even though it's not the thing that they ordered, it is going to be understood as a real solution, not a knee-jerk, I'm scared to death to have you mad at me solution.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, you've taken the time to research. You know that this can work. You're ready and willing and able to put this in place, and that's the kind of leader and designer that clients are waiting and wanting to work with. Clients there are very few people who are thinking, I want to work with a designer so that I can run the show, right?
That's so true. And I think only a non-designer would actually understand how true that is. Because if I want to run the show, I'm not calling you.
Exactly.
I specifically want to give you the keys and say, here, make a room.
Yes. Right. And I think though so many designers are feeling anxious about that. Like, you don't want to seem bossy. You don't want to seem controlling. And so you can kind of undercut yourself by being too soft. So it's a bit of a dance, right? Like, you don't want to come off as too harsh and abrasive like we were talking about before, but you also don't want to come off as too soft either, because then you're kicked out of that leadership role. Even though they hired you initially to be the leader, if you're too soft, then it's like, oh, okay, maybe she's not going to take this over. I guess I'm going to have to. So you do want to be in that middle lane where it's like, I am a strong leader who is focused on giving you the best that I possibly can. And just being very confident in that is what your client wants from you. Your client wants you to lead them, and they want you to be confident and courageous enough to come up with things, to lead them throughout your process, to do all of these things. They're waiting for you to do that.
And the thing is, this whole analogy goes for anything. It goes for, we put an entire room plan together, and the main fabric for the sofa, that everything is is built around is discontinued. And it's that same scenario. Now we're not meeting. We're missing a deadline for an emotional event, but it's somebody is emotionally invested in this whole room. And we've told them 15 times how amazing that fabric is. So there has to be a way that we come back to it and say, I've been through this before, and this is not a crazy, U-turn here. This is an opportunity for us to explore other things.
Right. The clients are led by your emotions and your words, and they're waiting for you to tell them if this is okay or not.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And so you want to say, this is, like you said, this is what I do. I know that this is upsetting. You also want to acknowledge what they're feeling, right? I know that this is upsetting, and you were really counting on this. I was too, but this is absolutely going to be okay. We are going to find you something that is just as beautiful. And this is why, like you said, this is why you hired me. This is my job, to be able to pivot to create a design that you are going to love no matter what. I am here for you, right? And that's being that sort of strong but not harsh and not too soft kind of leader that your client is wanting you to be.
Right. And that's an excellent point, to acknowledge their feelings. If the feeling is frustration, if the feeling is sadness, the feeling is disappointment, because it's a real thing. And to just say, hey, I got this, is not very, very respectful. It's, I hear you. I see that you're upset, and I get it. I loved it too. I love that advice, Ashley. That's so important not to skip that step. So,
Right. And you have to, like you said, you have to let them kind of grieve and mourn.
Yeah.
Don't want to just try to skip over that, because it does feel insensitive to just be like, oh, don't worry about it, right? They had their heart set on something and they're sad. And so you have to, give them that time to just kind of say, I know that this is really disappointing, and being there with them on that, so that they know that basically you've got their back, right? And that you're going to continue to go the extra mile for them and make sure that you write this. And it's not something that you could have controlled, but you are going to do whatever you can. But if you just kind of skip over it, then, and you're just saying this is going to be great, it can be insensitive, and they're also not going to hear it.
No.
Because just in that sad space, and they're not going to hear any sort of encouragement. But once they've sort of had their grieving period and it has ended, and then it's like writing yourself on that path of, okay, what's next? Then, like you said, you can swoop in and be like, ta-da!
Exactly.
This is what I've got.
Exactly. You know what it always reminds me of, and this is crazy, but I feel like the feeling of it has helped me many times in the moment to actually just stop and get in that moment with the client, is when I think about any of us that have raised children, and you have that 2, 3, 5, 6-year-old that is just so upset about whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, like they wanted their toy truck this morning, and that toy truck, they left it at grandma's yesterday. And you would never be like, here's 60 other trucks, like blah, 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 blah. And what's the big deal? It's just a truck. You take the kids, you put them on your lap, and you're like, I know, sweetie, it's your favorite truck. I know. And then whether it's 1 minute or 5 minutes or an hour later, we do have these trucks here today. Oh, yeah, I love the blue truck too, right? And so it's like we understand to do that with a child. And I'm not making it that people don't grow up. But the inside emotion of us does need to be acknowledged in a kind way, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They want you to feel what they feel, and that comes in times of sadness and in times of conflict, right? If your client is expressing that they're irritated with you, you don't want to just skip over that. You have to acknowledge that too. So just being in the moment with the client, feeling what they feel, and letting them kind of have the permission to feel that way. You want to be saying all of that so that they can then move on. Because if you're not letting them know it's okay to be sad, basically, then they're just they can get irritated with you, and they're not going to move on.
Right.
Then they're just stuck on that, but what about that?
Well, that's the truth, because they don't feel like the point was heard there. They just, it's nagging at them. It was funny because I did a What Would Lou Do show a couple of months ago, and it was my friend Jane from Chicago. And she had a line, Ashley, in the email question that she sent to me, and she said, this normally really good client who we had a great relationship and always paid her bills on time has ignored my bill for the last XYZ period of time, like literally won't communicate. And I said to her, go back. There's some place that something went wrong, and maybe you didn't even notice it, or maybe you did and you thought it was resolved, or maybe you noticed it and you didn't face it then, and maybe it's the elephant in the room, and you know, your client, because she is a good client and she is somebody that you have a relationship with, maybe she's not able to say at this point, I'm still mad about something that happened 4 months ago, because she feels funny saying that, but at the same time, she's not cutting her check, and that's her non-aggressive way of saying, I'm not happy.
Right. Yeah. And you want to, in that sort of instance, like you say, you don't want to put your client in a situation where they have to be the one to reach out.
Right.
You know, if you can control that, you've seen, okay, something's going wrong here. You don't want to just be like, hey, pay your bill, pay your bill, pay your bill. You know, you want to reach out and say, oh, you know, I want to talk to you about this. Is there something that's bothering you? And let's have that discussion so that we can move forward happily rather than just, you know, focusing on the bill, because there's something that's keeping them from moving on, and you want to again be that leader to take that hard conversation on and then say, you know, I want to listen to you, and you're always wanting to be listening more than you're talking when you're in this kind of a situation. Exactly.
Yeah, no, that was very interesting. You know, and it did work out. She emailed me after the fact, and she said, yep, I had to have that hard conversation. But, you know, the client appreciated it because they were friends. She was a good client. You know what I'm saying? So, and the other thing that you said that I love is clients are led by your emotions and your words. And so we do have the moment where we acknowledge that we sit down and we, you know, figuratively take them in our arms and feel the emotion with them and give them the permission to be upset, you know, frustrated, mad, whatever it is. But just like our children, you know, we're the ones who stands up then and says, and now let's look to the solution. Now let's look forward, right? We lead the conversation to the next spot also with, you know, our abilities to know where we should go. And I think that's awesome. I mean, it's funny in Window Works, I've said this on the show before. If I had a nickel, Adriana, first of all, she's one of the most outstanding showroom coordinators I've had in 39 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Truly is. But you know, she had this one little thing that she struggled with.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons that made her such an outstanding office coordinator is that she wants to please all of our customers. She really works very hard to make them feel, you know, that they are getting 100% of our attention and our service. So in that light, she had this one blind spot where if somebody would call on a Monday and want to see any one of us and we weren't available to the following Tuesday or Wednesday, like in Window Works world, we try and get you an appointment within 2 days, 3 days at tops. Like it's just a much faster business than interior design, right?
Yeah.
And so in her mind, I'm going to tell you, in 7 years she's worked for me, if I've heard her say it 50 times, she'll be like, I'll be sitting there at my desk and I hear her say, oh, okay, so you want LuAnn to come out to see you? Well, all right, well, I don't have her available until next Tuesday. And I would be like, Adriana, this woman doesn't know that our expectation internally is 2 days. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you just have to say, that's great. You want to see LuAnn? I have her available next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Then 8 out of 10 people are going to say, great, and hang up the phone. You know what I mean? And she goes, well, what if the person that says, I don't want to wait that long? Okay, the exception. We have the exception to the rule. Then you put them on hold and you say, do you want to work 14 hours today, Lou, instead of 12? I mean, like, come on.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes, it is. It's funny how something so small change how that's received, because it's like, ta-da, look at that, we've already got a spot open for you versus wah wah. Sorry about that.
It's like, I mean, I know me, and that's what I said to her. I said, look, you know, you're a single young woman, you don't have your own home, you wait until you have a home, a kid, a husband, and all of that, and you call for a service appointment or you call for an appointment. You're probably not available the next day anyway. Like, there's very little expectation on my part as a consumer half the time that I even want an appointment this week, right?
Yeah.
So to color it, to have them the whole week on, I can't even see her till next week. I can't even see her till next week.
Exactly.
So it is. It's to your thing. Clients are led by our words and our emotions. So it's so awesome. I mean, this is something that I know that you work with your clients, Ashley, to try and teach them right from a very, baby designer age, right? Of starting with their business and really understanding this dance of, you said it to me off air and it didn't come up in the show and I want to say it. You said how to be in control without being controlling. That's a great line, Ashley.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great way to say it because that really gets you into it because someone being in control, that you're paying them for a service, feels good. Someone being controlling when you're paying them for a service feels like, I'm sorry, I'm paying you. What are you doing? Right?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, who's telling you this is what we should be doing, rather than just like, hey, guess what? You're just here for the ride. Hand over the cash and I'll see you later at the end. Right? So difference, but it is so important to do it the right way. It's like bedside manner, basically, right? Like a doctor could be a wonderful doctor, but if they're coming and telling you like, well, this doesn't look good for you, here's your treatment plan, right? Versus like coming and saying like, this might be tough, but here's our treatment plan and we're going to get through this and all of that, right? So it's like now you are working with people, you're leading them by your emotions and you're being in control, and that patient would be so much more comfortable rather than either being too aggressive or saying like, oh, well, what do you think we should do, right? Like you don't want a doctor to come to you and be like, what do you think the plan should be for this? Don't want to hear that. No,
ma'am, we do not. That's a great analogy for a doctor, because it is true too that if he doesn't or she doesn't explain what to expect, we feel anxious and apprehensive. But if they don't explain it with respect and in a way that acknowledges the whole process and what our part in it is, then we feel like unheard and uncared for. So it's a great nuance there. Yeah. So you do all this work with your clients. Tell us a little bit about the types of ways that interior designers can work with you, Ashley.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I have pre-recorded video courses so people can go in and take these courses at any time, where you understand from beginning to end of your design process, how do you continually give an exceptional client experience? What does that look like? How do you deliver that? How do you do it consistently? As that's a huge thing, of course, doing it consistently. And then kind of next level as well. Once you've past that foundation, how do I continue to excel in the client experience? So how do you pamper them? How do you surprise them? And how do you account for that in your budget? So I have those. And then I also do, coaching calls as well with people where you have a specific problem. I work with people on, okay, I'm in this situation. How do I handle this? Whether it's you have an angry client or you want even more ideas on pampering, I do all of that with people.
I love it. And how do they find you?
So I am at AshleyUhlConsulting.com. So Ashley is ASHLEY and Uhl is UHL.
All righty. I love it. I'll tell you what, you are a hashtag smart lady.
Oh, thank you, LuAnn.
You probably got that one the first time. I'm sure you did.
I think so. But it never gets old,
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing all this terrific wisdom. I love like I said at the beginning, the nuance of the words, and you're saying the same thing, but there's a really positive way to say it that makes somebody feel terrific, and then there's another way to say it that really doesn't get you the results that you want. So thank you for sharing it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful to be here.
The big lesson here literally goes back to what I've told you about how I run my business. Do I want to be right, or do I want to get what I want, right? So yes, we can push a client back. We may have to do it 2, 3, 4 times. But to Ashley's point, how do we do it? Choosing our delivery, our language can be all the difference in the outcome. Her example of the Korean barbecue is an excellent one. I hope the nuance was heard. It's like we say here, it is their business. It is their restaurant. They will decide their process and how we as patrons will follow it. But to Ashley's point, we want to be led the way to do business with someone, not bossed around about how to do business with them, okay? In the end, we are always, both of us, Ashley and I, saying run it your way, have your rules, have your processes and systems, but lead with positivity and with an explanation of the results in mind so that clients want to go along with us and they want to do business with us, right? Now, if you were to poll the many dozens of designers and window treatment specialists I have coached, I think hands down they would all agree that this is one of my top skills and therefore one of the top things that comes up in our work together. Let's decide what outcome we want. What is our leverage in getting it, and what's the pain point it solves? Meaning, why would a client or a vendor want to do this, and how do we frame the conversation and choose the language that is most likely to get us where we want to be? This is like a crossword puzzle for me, and I love it. And if you've ever been in the process with me, you're laughing right now thinking, I know. She has 50,000 questions. She wants to know what's going on. And then we pick apart the words that your client has used and the words that you will use so that we get to the outcome. All right. So I want you to sit with this the next time that you are sitting there thinking you're jammed up, that you're not sure what to do in a situation. Pick it apart and then put it back together so that both you and your client come out whole. All right. And I'll remind you that if you have a tough question like that, you can always send it to me. You can email it to me at LuAnnNigara.com, WWLD. What would Lou do, right? That's the perfect thing. If you're sitting there with one of these, this is the exact type of thing, okay? So also, for more resources on this, please go to Ashley's website. She mentioned that she has her online course. She also does one-on-one coaching, and she has her blog as well for valuable information on a variety of topics under all of the client experience umbrella. That's AshleyUllConsulting.com, all right? A reminder to join me at the virtual IWCE along with many of our favorite people we have met through the podcast. Sarah Brennan will be presenting, Darla Powell, Nicole Heimer, Michelle Williams, Madeline McRae, all delivering tons of business wisdom designed to help you grow your business. Go to iwce-vision.com to register. The event is July 29th and 30th, 2020. All right, now, before I go, have you taken my designer quiz yet? I was starting to remember to mention it to you. So head over to thedesignerquiz.com. This quiz will reveal if you are a hashtag baby designer, a hashtag rising designer, or a hashtag seasoned designer. Okay. And this is interesting to understand and know, but the real reason to take the quiz is because when you get your results, you get a list from me of the top 10, the top things that I think you should do by the end of the day, the end of the week, and end of the month in order to prove your business and make it even better. And then I also give you a list of the podcast episodes that I think will help you with the tasks that I ask you to do so that you can take your business to the next level. All right. So if you've ever thought to yourself, there are over 550 episodes, where do I start? This is the perfect answer. Take the quiz because it'll give you the best episodes for where you are in your business. Go to thedesignerquiz.com. All right. And before I go, I want to thank Kravit for sponsoring the show today. Kravit has been busy innovating during COVID-19 too, revising showroom protocols for your safety and for your convenience. They also continue to develop new tools for you, like the already popular visualization tool, which is now available on the Lee Jofa workroom furniture. Designers, you can build your own unique piece and see it rendered before your eyes on the screen before you buy it. Okay? How exciting is this? Go to Kravit.com/Lee Joffa. That's Kravit.com/Lee Joffa. All righty. Thanks so much for showing up today and joining me. Please share your comments with me over on Instagram at LuAnn Nigara. I love to hear what you think and what your aha moments are and your reactions to the episode. I also love to know what you are doing today to make your business better. And as always, I hope you will decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.